Greetings and welcome to another episode of Pop's Collection. I'm Ron Tweedy, joining me is Pops, and today we went over this weekend to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and we're here to talk about it.
Welcome everybody, and I know you couldn't tell that, but I was trying to be Doctor Strange.
Especially if you're listening. That was completely nothing.
Well, hey, I am Pops and I am technically challenged. So anyways, Ron, we did go and it was Free Comic Book Day.
It was, yes.
And I saw a couple pictures that you guys went to your comic shop, Richards.
Yes, Richards
in
Greenville, South Carolina. That's right.
And I noticed I saw Supergirl there. I'm just wondering, was Piper pretty excited about that?
Yeah, she was.
I kind of had a feeling, I thought, oh, I bet she's really, really likes that. Anyways, for me, we went to the movie a little bit later than you. And seeing as how in my area in Middleburg, there are no comic shops. And the one that I used to go to, because of COVID, it eventually closed down. So really nothing there. So like I had shared with you, we went to the library because they advertised it, but they only advertised it from 12 to 3. So I missed all of our superheroes. And when I got there, the only 2 comics that were left was this one here. It's called Omega Men.
Okay. And
it's not really a Free Comic Book Day. It says it's the final issue. And I got this other one. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It kind of looks like Thor. It's called Thunderstrike.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a Thor thing.
Yeah, that was a thing in the 90s. Eric Masterson, I think, is the guy, but I think he, for a while, had the power of Thor or something like that. But yeah. Yeah,
okay. Well, anyways, I thought
yeah.
I was thankful that by the time the movie was over, and we had lunch and got to the library, there was 15 minutes left of Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
So here's that's kind of all that we got.
Here's a picture of Piper with the superhero. So yeah.
Yes, and I think the girl that plays that whoever is Supergirl there, she definitely fits the, cosplay well.
Yeah, that's what Piper said, that she liked her costume the best. So
I figured she would. Now I do like the Nightwing one. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
I think the Wolverine one is really ridiculous.
And he's just way too tall for Wolverine, so.
Exactly, yes. I would agree with that. But I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
And now, did you take Piper with you to go see the Multiverse of Madness?
We did, yeah.
Okay, well, it is first impressions.
Yeah.
And it was PG-13. So, but I'm going to guess that she got scared a few times.
A little bit. This is also the same girl who likes watching Ghostbusters Afterlife. So wasn't totally, lost on her. I mean, I don't think it was too much for her. But yeah, it's definitely, I think they gave Sam Raimi a lot more creative license to be his normal Sam Raimi self than, the folks at Sony did when he did Spider-Man.
I tend to agree with that because, Sam Raimi is a really, really, really strong comic book geek, and he probably knows more than I ever will know, when it comes to certain things,
Right.
And before we do any spoilers, let me just say that he really, first impressions, if I did know as much as he knew, I would say that a lot of that movie was fractured, but the things that I did know in that movie, I felt like it flowed very well. There was only a couple spots in there where I felt a little out of it, you know?
Sure.
What about you?
Um, so yeah, hot take without going into spoilers, I would say that this is a very well told story, but the story itself is not good. And we'll talk more about that as we get into it. But in my opinion, um, yeah, it's a like I said, you can definitely tell a lot of work and care went into this story, in this movie. But ultimately, I think it's telling a story that's not really good. So anyway, that's kind of the hot take for me.
Well, good. Yes, I felt like um, they took some things from What If.
Yeah, so that's one thing I did want to mention, that if you are going to see this movie and you haven't really been caught up with some of the Marvel property stuff, I would recommend watching a couple movies first. The first one I recommend is watching is the um, I guess for the first Doctor Strange movie would be fine to watch, to kind of get you anchored into the character. I think that's good. More importantly, though, I think you need to watch Spider-Man: No Way Home. You need to watch WandaVision, and you need to watch What If. I think those, four movie/TV shows, if you want to be up to speed of what's going on in this film, you need to watch that first, Dan.
Yes, which we've seen all that in our particular group.
Yeah.
And I do have to say that I did get the look when we saw Doctor Strange with a ponytail.
Yeah.
So I did get that little bit of a look there.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
Yes, how did it has, this could have been named a couple other names too. Saving America could have gone over as a good name.
Okay.
Or Mother's Day.
Well, yeah, we noticed that it was interesting, and I think it probably was intentional that it was launched the same weekend as Mother's Day. If you take the Multiverse of Madness, those initials, you have Mom spelled out. And
yes.
those thematic elements are all throughout the film. So let's stick spoiler free right now. Any last thoughts before we go into spoilers?
Well, I will say,
because there's a lot of spoilers in this film.
Oh, no question about that. I will say that I felt that the CG special effects that they did throughout the film,
yep,
were excellent. And they did filming in a lot of different places.
Yep.
I don't know if you noticed that at the end.
Yep.
But I mean, America, Australia, UK, all over the place.
Yep.
So some of the landscaping that they saw,
mm-hmm.
that I saw, it was really breathtaking.
Yep.
So if that was filmed on location, wow, mm-hmm. really good.
Yeah.
And you? Any last thoughts before we start spoiling?
Yeah, the thing that I'd say is that if you're a Marvel fan, definitely you would want to see this. But it's definitely not for everyone. I would say that if you don't like the dark and the macabre, you might want to skip this one. And if you're not super invested in the MCU, you might want to skip it as well. It's a very different film, unlike, some of the other films that we saw earlier this year that, I think are definitely go-sees. This one, your mileage may vary. So.
Exactly. Your mother's opinion of it was, yeah, it was okay,
right,
but not her favorite,
yep.
Yep. So, but also my little note on that is that she is not, a comic book geek, and she's not really, I had to explain some things to her through the movie. So,
right.
Loses stuff when you're not aware of why this is this and that is that.
Right. Like I said, if you watch those four things beforehand, I think you'll be up to speed. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, if you're just going in with not as much familiarity with those other properties, you're probably going to have to do some explaining.
Yes, and I have to say that this is, I don't know if it's a first, but the villain in this story is the superhero, is a superhero.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can talk about that, I guess, in the spoiler section. So let's just make a
Right.
delineation
Okay.
there. So yeah.
Okay. So end of non-spoiler then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I think you're right. Although I would say that if you were to take a look at Civil War, a lot of good guys or bad guys in that one too. So it's not unprecedented.
True. That is true.
So
yeah, I guess so. So, anyways, we get a start of this. We're actually in another part of the multiverse.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a really good opening sequence. Very exciting. They went right into the action. A lot of times, some of these movies, they either start in the middle of something that you kind of are disoriented with that. And other times you have a really slow build, but this one, it kind of just gets you right in the middle of it, which I thought was good.
Oh yes, it ran in it. It opened up running, not jogging.
Mm-hmm.
It was running, and we.
Yeah.
What did you think about the? I guess you would call her the heroine,
mm-hmm.
America.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, does she have any, comic book parts anywhere that any kind of?
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, I mean she's a relatively newer character to the Marvel pantheon. I didn't really get a chance to look it up. In fact, I might just do that now while I'm talking through it. But yeah, very similar to some of the newer generation of Marvel characters. Created I think relatively recently. If I had to guess, let's see. Yeah, first appearance was in Vengeance #1 in September of 2011. So very new character. So I'm thinking of other characters like Ms. Marvel, Kate Bishop, a lot of those other ones.
Right, which are relatively all new.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of, that's that. So.
Right. So, and we saw, again, that was the first time we got to see Doctor Strange with a ponytail.
Right. So and obviously telling us that's a different reality of Doctor Strange.
Right. So, and in this movie, when they say multiverse, it's really, really, really multiverse.
Yeah.
There's hundreds and hundreds of multiverses based on what we get later on in the story.
Yeah, I mean the lore of the story, or the in-universe lore, is that there's an infinite number of multiverses, and we saw pieces of this introduced in Loki, the TV series. We see it kind of fleshed out after the Time Variance Authority kind of gets destroyed. We now are kind of seeing the consequences of that as the Nexus event happening in No Way Home, and then it kind of brings us to today, what we're experiencing in Multiverse of Madness. So,
right, which again, like I said, there were parts of it that I felt were kind of fractured.
Sure.
Where they would, because there was a lot of action in this movie,
but not the traditional action.
No.
That was one thing I'll say that was really refreshing and really interesting, is particularly some of the battles between, towards the end, where you have Doctor Strange fighting an alternate version of Doctor Strange, and they're fighting literally with sheet music, and that was one of the coolest
which
sequences.
Was really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing the way that they did that. So,
Yes. Again, there were a lot of parts that I enjoyed in this. Um, but again, like I had mentioned, there were a few that there was one part in there. I can't remember when it was, and I'm not, but I felt out of it for a second,
Okay.
and I was like, I closed my eyes and I said, wait, nope, don't want to do that. And a second later, it brought me back into focus again. But I fell out of focus to almost that point.
Okay.
I have to say, I mentioned already the landscaping
Yeah.
and the CG, but
Yeah.
the cast, we have a cast of all stars in this.
Yeah. I guess
You
you
know,
could say that.
well, we do, if you, and even more so than maybe Civil War.
Well, I mean, I think maybe from the number of characters, yeah, but I think the percentage is mostly the strength. The core cast is of Doctor Strange's, thanks. He got, Rachel McAdams coming back, reprising her role as Christine Palmer.
Yes.
Benedict Wong, as
Yes.
Wong. You've got, a lot of those extra. So, I think that, that's kind of the main cast is kind of consistent. We also got Elizabeth Olsen coming back as Wanda Maximoff, and then,
Haley Atwell
no, she's not. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's later on, right?
later on,
But I'm saying that a lot of the main characters that have a lot of screen time, are kind of familiar to us with the addition.
Yes, that's true.
With the addition to I don't know how to pronounce her name. Shotitel Gomez, maybe, as America Chavez. So anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, her first name
starts with X. Hey, that was good. You did it better than I would have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, an interesting character, nonetheless, and she actually reminded me a lot of one of the characters on the new Legends of Tomorrow series.
Yep.
They look real similar.
Yeah. We also got the return of Chiwetel Ejiofor as Carl Modo. So
yes,
Carl, we found out his first name is. So it's like they kept him
as
Carl.
Modo.
Carl.
Yeah.
Mordo. Yeah. So anyway, that was nice to see him return. Because they kind of hinted at that at the end of the first Strange movie, and so we get to see him. It's not the same. The 616, which is the other thing that I thought was interesting, is that the main MCU timeline is 616, which is kind of like the same as the main comics timeline, which is
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that was interesting now that you mention it.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that we also got the octopus with the one eye.
Yeah.
That once we get done with the first action and America comes to our Stephen Strange's multiverse or universe or whatever you want to call it, we almost immediately get a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's he's not credited as this, but Shuma Gorath is the actual name, and I think there's some copyright issues of why they can't call it Shuma Gorath. I think they share it with a different studio or something like that. But it was that character was actually in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the fighting game. So that might be the reason why it doesn't.
Maybe anyway, it's same monster by Capcom, but yeah. They did really good. I really liked, like I said, that was one of the CGs that really came out well,
Yep.
But again, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Your mom didn't like the eye popping out, eyeball flying around,
Yeah.
So it is a little graphic, I have to say.
Yep. But it's more than a little, I think.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think also with the subject matter, because we're talking about magic here,
right? The mystic arts and sorcery and witchcraft. Yeah.
Yes, and the as they called it, the dark hold.
Yep.
which I thought was a good message that, no matter how good your intentions are, if you're going to mess with the dark hold, it's going to take a hold of you, which I thought, towards that, when we come to the climax of the movie, we see that come to fruition in a positive way and not in the dark way, you know. But I, what did you think about their explanation of her being able to jump from universe to universe? That she had no control over it and she could only do it when she was scared.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think? And then I guess Doctor Strange is the one who later enlightens her that she can do it herself. Do you think that, how do you feel about that way that went in that part of the message of the story? It makes sense to you?
I guess. I mean, the reality is that she has a very unique power. So, without someone to help her guide her and how to use it, but nobody else has that power. So it's like, of course, you're going to have trouble harnessing.
Exactly. And of course, everybody wants her power too.
Mm-hmm. Well, not everyone.
Or at least, the Doctor Stranges in the other verses and Wanda. Or not Wanda.
I don't think the other Doctor Strange, he didn't want to take her power, but he felt like he had no other choice. At least in the beginning one, that's what it was. He didn't want to do it,
right.
But he did it because that felt the only way that saved that universe.
Right.
So
I thought it was interesting how they showed the different universes, one that was just all color.
Sure. Yeah.
All paint or whatever.
That's cool.
And we get a great cameo in one of those, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. Yep.
A great comic book role character. And I loved it. He got actually 2 cameos. Right. In the movie and then in the second teaser, which was awesome.
Yeah.
It was, I will say this to our listeners, you definitely have to stay to the end.
I don't know if you have to. I mean, it was good for a laugh.
It was. And we did get a thing at the end about Doctor Strange returning. So I thought that was good too. I don't know if it's going to be a third movie for the trilogy or if he's going to be part of something else. I don't know. But we'll see.
Yeah.
This movie did tie in with some of the TV series on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah. A lot, even non-Disney Plus TV series.
Which one are you talking about? Where at?
All right, so you want to talk about the big thing, the big reveal in the Illuminati? You want to do that?
Oh yeah, yes, I would love to. That's I've been waiting to do that.
All right, so yeah, let's go there. So
okay.
So eventually they end up in Universe 838, and they have a superhero group called the Illuminati, which is it does have
precedence.
Yeah. I mean, there's an Illuminati comic even, and a lot of the folks that are on the Illuminati in this movie also are in the comics. One notable absent from this film who was in the Illuminati was Tony Stark. So that is unfortunate.
Right, but not in this version.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so that to me was, I think, the biggest reveal is a couple of things. So we have, of course, Carl Mordo as the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth 838. So he's there. We have trying to think of who the other ones are without getting too spoilery. I'm trying to think of the most thing you would think that, oh yeah, definitely they'd be on it. The other one is Black Bolt. Black Bolt is the same actor from the Inhumans show.
Yes, he is. So it's the exact same actor.
So that's what I meant by non-Disney Plus shows. So we have
okay. Right. And we got Haley Atwell.
Right, as Captain Carter.
Yes.
and
The first Avenger,
right, right,
which they took from What If.
of course, yes. And then we also got a different version of Captain Marvel, which instead of it being Carol Danvers, it was Maria Rambeau.
Yes, it was.
Uh,
Which that was kind of a tie-in to WandaVision.
sort of,
Yeah,
because
sort of.
Monica is the one who got the photon powers in WandaVision.
That's true.
So it
That's
wasn't
true.
Maria. Maria actually is dead at this point. So,
Right.
And then the pretty big one is John Krasinski as Reed Richards, which
yes. And I
figured,
hope that's the shape of things to come.
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah,
I liked his Fantastic Four outfit.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
I figured you'd really be happy about that.
I was like, yes, yes. And I had to tell Mom about him, and I said, you know this guy? I said, from The Office. And I said, and remember he did that 24 takeoff from on Prime, right?
Jack Ryan existed way before 24.
Right. But I'm saying that's the character, the same character that he played, right?
He played Jack Ryan, but Jack Ryan
Yes,
has something to do with 24.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, but my favorite was definitely Charles.
Yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart reprises his role, and not only that, it's not just it would be good enough just to have Sir Patrick Stewart coming back as Charles Xavier, but it was specifically 90s Charles Xavier. He had the yellow wheelchair machine. When he entered in, the theme from the 90s cartoon X-Men played.
Yes.
And everything. So
yes. I know. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that to me.
For me, that was worth the whole movie, Mm-hmm. Enough said.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing. So
yes, and I thought of that, and also because I told you I'm watching the original Star Trek series.
Yeah,
I thought about that episode in Star Trek where they had the character in that similar type machine.
The menagerie. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought, wow, that's really cool. And was there? That was it, right? I think that was all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that universe, they killed their Doctor Strange.
Yes.
So I mean, it's like,
well, it's interesting in that they also had a battle with Thanos, and like you said at the end, Doctor Strange, being taken over by a Darkhold, sacrifice, or asks to be eliminated because of that, because he's been corrupted, and so we could see Black Bolt, doing the honor.
Yes,
that was pretty cool.
Oh yes, no question about that.
Yeah,
but again, Wanda somehow defeats them all.
Yeah, pretty easily too, and particularly, and I think that's the other thing that's interesting is that they really did play up the Scarlet Witch version of Wanda and her reality manipulating property. So we saw that in WandaVision, but we really do see kind of the extent of it, almost like House of M level of
I would agree with that, definitely.
So that's interesting. The way she takes out Black Bolt was like, that was pretty crazy.
Oh yes. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, I hope Piper didn't get too shaken up by that, but I mean that could be a place where she could have.
Yeah, I think that was fine. The other thing that I do think it was interesting is the Battle of Camartage, where we get we have this giant battle between Wanda and like all of the different magic users around the world, and they're all kind of coming together to defend Camartage. I know I'm jumping around a little bit in the story, but I think that was interesting that they just they randomly had like this Minotaur looking guy And like,
Yes.
and Piper
Where
was
did
like,
he come from?
yeah, Piper was like, who's that or whatever. You know, she really was interested in that character. I was like, man, he's probably gonna do something really cool, and they don't even use him. It's like
No,
nothing. I'm like, come on. Anyway, that was a little disappointing, but
it was more than a little disappointing, but you would have thought that he would have some other skill other than standing there with a shield, you
yeah.
know?
Well, I thought, you know, I tried to liken it to something else. Oh, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like the Lantern Corps, where like they had
Yes.
all these different characters and aliens and everything like that. Like, you know,
Yes.
everybody's got kind of like, you know, battling at the same time. Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Like if Green Lantern was a good movie, it would be similar to that.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
don't know if they'll ever have a good Green Lantern movie, but
but then the other thing that's interesting about that is that, you know, they bring Wanda goes to Woundagore, which is ironically enough a lot more significant in the comics than it is in this film. Woundagore is a place that is run by the High Evolutionary, where he takes animals and, you know, kind of anthropomorphizes them, you know, into human, whatever, human animal hybrids, essentially.
right.
That's in the comics, right? And ironically enough, it's also the birthplace of Wanda and her brother. You know, for one of the origin stories of that is that, you know, Magneto's wife, Magda, she, you know, runs away from him because he's Magneto. And she ends up there in Woundagore, and she gives birth to the twins there and dies in childbirth. So, you know, I find it interesting that they included that location, particularly where Wanda finds herself of, you know, who she really is. So,
Well, you know, it's all that's kind of the one of those little Easter egg things that
yeah,
if you go on YouTube, there'll be
probably.
82 Easter eggs
Yeah,
in,
yeah,
you know, Multiverse of Madness or whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's just one of those tiny little things that,
yeah,
you know, I thought that that part was really pretty cool too,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Um, there was quite, I'm gonna say the good parts outweighed the bad parts in
Okay,
this, you know.
okay.
um I don't know that I would go as far as going back to the movie theater to see
Mm,
it again,
yeah,
but I'm happy. I'll anticipate the DVD
mm-hmm.
to watch it again. I felt the time of the movie, uh, it seemed longer than it was, you know, because Raimi threw so much in
Mm-hmm.
there
Yeah,
that, you know, it was almost like this feels like it's 3 hours long, you know, and it's only 2 hours and 7 minutes. So not too bad,
mm-hmm.
you know. So if you're the kind of person that has bladder issues, just go before and you can go afterwards, you know.
Yeah,
You can hold it for 2 hours.
yeah,
But yeah, okay. So we have kind of been jumping around, but
mm-hmm.
uh, this is our first impressions, and
Right.
I don't have any notes. So,
No,
you know, it's not, we'll do a full
yeah,
episode on this later when it comes out and we start doing phase 4.
uh huh,
So,
yeah,
which I'm look forward to. That might get into some more heavy stuff. So the plot here, like I said, you could pretty much call it a Mother's Day thing.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Um, if you watched WandaVision, you know that Wanda had two made up children that she made up,
Yeah,
along with her made up husband that she made up.
right.
So,
Who is noticeably absent from the entire film, which is to
right,
me,
which that is one thing I thought about. Why
yeah.
isn't he there?
I don't know.
You know,
I don't know.
in any of the multiverses?
I think. Well,
Do you think it could have been a money thing?
no, it's not a money thing. They are specifically, with the exception of a throwaway line by Reed Richards, there are no fathers in this movie, and I think that's intentional by them. That is intentional.
Yes, there is America's Parents,
No dads.
no dad. So you're right. You think it was intentional that way, or
Totally intentional.
yeah,
Yeah, they're and it's not a uh conspiracy theory. I mean, you can listen to the leaked Zoom meetings from Disney. They they are definitely anti, you know, traditional family. They're anti dad, I think. And I think this is just kind of another thing about it. And quite frankly, I think it's almost a cautionary tale, because I do think that a lot of women today are told, "Hey, you can put off motherhood a little bit and just kind of have kids on your own terms." And then a lot of women find out after the fact that that's not true, and they miss their window. And then the lengths that Wanda goes to get her children, even if it's going to be tearing apart the fabric of reality. Um, Again, like I said, it's a cautionary tale.
yes, and not only that, she's willing to take the life of some a mom of whoever's children that she tends to get. She's going to be
Yeah,
getting rid of the mother
right. So,
to become the mother.
right. So to me, it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know. You get, it's not only just anti-dad, but it's also like a really toxic version of motherhood as well that's portrayed here. And obviously they try to portray the toxic motherhood part in a negative light, but I don't see a positive version of it really anywhere either. So
Well, did they towards the end of the movie, America enlightened Wanda as
yeah,
Scarlet Witch
yeah,
to see what she was doing to her sons from another multiverse, from another universe,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of brought her back to reality as a person who doesn't live in reality at all,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but really, it was not a positive, like you said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any other thing you want to mention on this?
Again, I think the other thing is that there is a concerted effort to make sure that the traditional superheroes that we actually go to the movies for, are one by one being replaced by these new characters. And to me, I don't think it's not really um, in a good direction. We have one by one, a lot of these characters are being completely written out. Like it's no
Right.
longer Captain America. It's no longer
Tony Stark.
right. Exactly. No, and we did see that the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, and
Yes.
they did my boy dirty. I really don't like what they're doing to Thor. I really don't like it. So anyway,
No, and Jane is now going to be, she got the hammer, right?
well, I'm gonna withhold
Wait.
judgment on that, because it could just be for a particular scene. Could be that, I don't know, or if they're gonna make it a more permanent thing. I don't know the answer to that, so I'm not gonna say anything. But if I had to guess, they're just kind of doing that as well.
One by one.
And even people like Carol Danvers, they're not safe either. You know, she got completely erased from this film as well.
Yes, she did.
So
Yes, she did.
anyway,
Right. Well, yeah, I tend to agree with you, and um, I think that they're making a huge mistake going in the direction that they're going.
yeah,
But we'll see how that goes out, and DC should be really happy about that.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, I mean, they've already announced that they're going to do a sequel to the Batman with Robert Pattinson and forget the director's name, Matt Reeves.
Yes.
They've already announced that they're going to do that in another in-universe sequel to that, not have it necessarily connect to anything else that the DC movies are doing, which is fine. I think it's perfectly fine that they do
Oh,
it
yes,
that way.
it could be either way.
Yeah. So,
I mean, let's face it, the Spider-Man, the Sony pictures originally were not MCU, part of MCU,
yeah.
and and the Batman, I can totally stand alone,
Yeah.
and not be an issue,
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think it works better that way.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably. Um, and I believe that there's also a Flash movie coming out this year,
That's right.
and Aquaman 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm sure DC would say to Marvel, yeah, just keep going the way you're going.
Yeah. Yeah. Although if you look at DC's TV stuff, it's not much better.
No, it's not.
Anyway,
But
that's another.
Sadly, I know every one of our listeners is probably real sad.
Yeah.
That they canceled Batwoman. I know.
Yeah, that series ran 3 seasons too long. I think a lot of that was the conventional wisdom.
Well, I would agree with that, and
nobody asked for that.
I think the problem is some of the writers that they choose to use in these shows have an agenda that has nothing to do with the comics, right. And unfortunately,
well, some of the comic artists have their own agenda too, and they're in lockstep. For instance, America Chavez, very faithful to the comic, the comic character, very faithful to the movie, was a very faithful iteration of that. So we for those traditional comic book characters, you have people taking that and then perverting that into something that it wasn't meant to be. And then we also
exactly,
but now we also have a new generation of comic artists that definitely have an agenda that they want to push as well. And I'm not necessarily that's not a value judgment per se. I believe that I don't believe in the myth of neutrality. I think anybody who's going to be creating any story has a worldview to express. It's just that some people are upfront about it and other people are not. That to me is the big thing, So anyway,
like The Watchmen.
I don't know. I didn't watch The Watchmen. So anyway,
well, you would agree that writer and artist has an agenda.
Yeah.
So
every artist has an agenda. The question is, what kind of stories do we want for ourselves and our families? And for me, I'd rather it be, an agenda that is, in line with the Word of God, right?
Right. And let me ask you a question, since we really have nothing else to say about this other than, it's not for everybody, but if you want to go, I'd say go.
Sure.
But my question to you is, since it was Free Comic Book Day that we chose to go, when you went to Richards, did they have a good selections of comics that the children wanted?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And anything for you that you thought was something that you would be interested in?
Oh, I normally don't get anything because the kids, they like to, you can get up to 5 of the free comics. And so I know Piper got one with the Super Pets, which is coming out soon too.
Right. Are we going to do a first impressions on that, or?
We're going to go see it. So, I guess we can. But she also got one with another DC one she got, and Sonic. They had a Sonic comic, and they had Donald Duck. So yeah, they got a good amount.
Okay, good. And did they say Free Comic Book Day comic?
Yeah.
So see, I wonder why I didn't have those. They didn't have any of those at my place. So
I don't know.
But I have no idea. Again, there are no comic book stores anywhere close to us,
Yeah.
But I did find there is a new one opened up in Oakleaf. So
okay.
Might have to check that out and see what it looks like.
Yeah, it's not too far away.
No, it's not from us. So maybe next time you come down, we'll take a ride over there and scope it out.
Okay.
You know, just for grins.
Sure.
Okay, so we're not going to rate this.
Right.
But would you say it's go to the movie?
Like I said, depending on the person, right? If you're into Marvel stuff, yeah, go see it. If not, you can skip it.
Right. As a matter of fact, at church, I do have the female singer. Her boyfriend is a comic book geek, and the two of them had said that it really wasn't much better than the Eternals. So
I still
that's
haven't
not
watched that, so
no, no, but you know, unfortunately, I'll have to bring that up. I guess we'll have to watch it if we're going to do it on our phase 4 when we get there. Okay, so flip a coin, go see it.
Okay.
Wait till it comes out on DVD. I do have to say that some of the special effects are spectacular to see on the big screen.
Yeah, that is one thing I'll definitely say in its favor, is that, you know, the special effects are, you know, second to none.
Yes, so that in itself would be worth it.
Yep.
And the Bruce Campbell cameo, definitely.
Yeah.
At least the first one.
Yeah.
Maybe not the second one, but
yeah, I almost didn't recognize him because he's aged so much. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's still around. He's still acting.
Yep.
All right. So next week we're going to get back and wrap up Moon Knight.
Yep.
I know the audience is waiting. They can't wait. They're looking forward to it.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what your final impressions are.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out.
Excellent.
So, all right. Thank you all for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week with the wrap up of Moon Knight. And until then, goodbye. God bless.
Goodbye. God bless. And tell your friends.